Welcome, traveler. We're glad you're here. Every story you hear is made with care and passion. If you enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and check out the other adventures waiting for you on our channel. Your support means the world. Thank you. The memory hit Eliza like a physical blow. Not her memory, someone else's. The customer convulsed in the extraction chair, neural interface cable snaking from the temporal hood to her own custom-built decoder. His memory of combat training surged through the connection, flooding her consciousness with fragments of someone else's past. Rifle recoil. Blood spray. The satisfying crack of bone beneath knuckles. Damn it, she hissed, yanking the cables free. The customer, a sweating businessman who'd paid premium for Black Ops combat memories, slumped forward, drooling. Sir? Can you hear me? Eliza checked his pulse. Strong but racing. Ren. Need assistance. Ren Nakamura materialized from the shadows of the converted warehouse basement. Unlike most of her employees, he moved with deadly precision, a living advertisement for the product they sold. He'd traded so many combat memories that his own identity had begun fracturing at the edges. Another rejection? He stabilized the businessman with practiced hands. Partial integration only, Eliza muttered, examining the readouts. His brain chemistry fought the implantation. He'll remember how to field strip an assault rifle but won't have the muscle memory for hand-to-hand. Half a product for full price then. Ren's smile never reached his eyes. TNA's getting closer, Eliza. Raid on our west side location last night. 3 dead. Eliza's head snapped up. Casualties? Our people. 2 clients. 1 operator. They're escalating. She nodded grimly, guilt tightening her chest. 3 more lives on her conscience. Did they deploy temporal disruptors? Worse. They have a new operative leading the raids. Using some kind of weapon that freezes people in their own past. Ren's expression darkened. They call him the Extractor. A cold weight settled in Eliza's stomach. Only one TNA operative had that nickname, Marcus, her former colleague. Former lover. Now hunting her, the warehouse alarm system shrieked to life. Proximity alert. The digitized warning echoed through the basement. TNO signatures detected. Package the client, Eliza ordered, already moving toward her equipment. Evacuation protocol echo. The businessman mumbled incoherently as Ren dragged him toward the exit. Eliza's fingers flew across her terminal, initiating emergency wipes of all local data. Outside, the whine of approaching TNA hover drones grew louder. The neurotoxin implant at the base of her skull throbbed, a constant reminder of what would happen if the TNA caught her. One remote signal and she'd have 72 hours to surrender, or the toxin would release. Ren returned, combat stance ready. 5 minutes until they breach the outer perimeter. Where's the backup extractor? Eliza grabbed the silver case containing her prototype, the only one of its kind. I'll take the tunnels. You go topside, make noise. Always the decoy, Ren said with a tight smile. Try not to get killed, boss. My temporal fragments are spreading. I need you to fix what's happening to me. He tapped his temple, where a spiderweb of black veins pulsed beneath the skin, visible evidence of his fragmenting timeline. I will, she promised. Rendezvous at Sanctuary in 48 hours. As she slipped into the escape tunnel, the sounds of the first explosions echoed behind her. Ren would give her the time she needed, but at what cost? The tunnels beneath Neo San Francisco formed a labyrinth of maintenance shafts and abandoned subway lines. Eliza moved with practiced efficiency, the weight of the extractor case a constant reminder of her mission. Her wrist communicator flashed with a breaking news alert. Temporal Navigation Agency Director Sofia Valdez announced expanded powers today in the fight against illegal memory trafficking. Speaking from TNA headquarters, Director Valdez condemned what she called temporal terrorists who threaten the stability of our shared reality. Eliza snorted. Typical TNA propaganda. They perfected limited time travel, letting people observe their own past, then restricted access to the wealthy and connected. Her market democratized temporal access through memory trading. If you couldn't visit your past, you could at least experience someone else's. What the public didn't know, what she discovered before fleeing the TNA, was that the agency had been running its own illegal memory program for years. Project Mnemosyne created perfect assassins by implanting combat memories without the messy identity issues that plagued ordinary citizens. 3 levels down, Eliza paused at a junction. Her neural implant tingled, an early warning system she'd designed herself. Someone was following her. She unholstered her pulse pistol and pressed against the wall. Footsteps approached, measured, deliberate. A hunter's pace. A familiar voice called out. Special Agent Marcus Chen, Temporal Navigation Agency. You're surrounded, Eliza. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The voice brought conflicting memories, passionate nights in her apartment, heated arguments over temporal ethics, his face the last thing she saw before fleeing the TNA. Surrounded. She kept her voice steady. Your tactical vocabulary needs work, Marcus. Surrounded implies multiple vectors of approach. These tunnels only have 2 directions. A low chuckle. Still the smartest person in any room. Smart enough to know you're stalling. She edged toward a service door. How did you find me? You think I need technology to know where you'd go? His voice grew closer. I know you, Eliza. You knew me. Past tense. She fired 2 quick shots down the tunnel, not to hit him, just to buy seconds. People change when they discover their employer is creating memory-infused assassins. Silence followed her accusation. Then, what are you talking about? Project Mnemosyne. Check the classified servers. Or better yet, ask yourself why certain memories feel like they don't belong to you. She heard his sharp intake of breath. A direct hit. Eliza, wait, she didn't. She slammed through the service door and sprinted into the adjacent tunnel. Behind her, Marcus swore and gave chase. The pursuit lasted 12 minutes, through maintenance shafts, up emergency ladders, across a decommissioned maglev platform. Eliza knew these tunnels better, but Marcus had always been faster. When she emerged onto street level through a ventilation grate, night had fallen over Neo-San Francisco. Rain pelted her face as she ducked into the crowded night market. The neon-soaked crowds provided temporary cover. Her communicator vibrated with an encrypted message from one of her operatives, J. Taken. TNA black site. Eliza froze, ice flooding her veins. J. Jasmine. Her sister. The TNA had taken her sister hostage. 3 days later, Eliza crouched behind an air conditioning unit on the roof of the Sui Medical Center, surveying the TNA black site across the street. Rain plastered her hair to her skull as she adjusted the neural binoculars. The toxin implant throbbed at the base of her skull, a countdown she couldn't see but could feel with every heartbeat. The TNA facility occupied the top 10 floors of a nondescript office building. According to her intelligence, Jasmine was being held on the 47th floor, in a section designated for temporal anomaly research. Thermal imaging shows 23 heat signatures on target floor, reported the voice in her earpiece. One of her few remaining loyal operators, running support remotely. Guard rotations? Every 30 minutes. Next change in 8 minutes. Eliza prepped her equipment. Custom grappling system. Pulse pistol with silencer attachment. Electromagnetic disruptors for the security systems. And most importantly, her modified neural extractor, compact enough to fit in a shoulder harness. Her last functioning prototype after the TNA raids. The slickness of the building's exterior in the rain would make the climb challenging. One mistake meant a 50-story fall to the pavement below. As she prepared to move, her earpiece crackled with static. Eliza. A familiar voice. Not her operator, Marcus. Clever hack into my private channel, she replied, scanning for his position. But I'm a little busy right now. Don't enter that building. It's a trap. She almost laughed. You expect me to believe you're warning me? After hunting me across the city, I accessed the files. Project Mnemosyne. You were right. His voice sounded strained. They've been experimenting with memory implantation for years, creating compliant operatives, including you. A pause. I found irregularities in my own memory. Training I don't remember receiving. Combat techniques I shouldn't know. Eliza's lip curled. Welcome to the club. Now if you'll excuse me, they have my sister. That's part of the trap. Urgency colored his tone. Jasmine isn't just bait. She's part of the experiment. Valdez discovered something unique in her genetic makeup, some kind of natural resistance to temporal fragmentation. The revelation hit Eliza like a physical blow. Of course. It explained why Jasmine had always been able to help stabilize patients suffering from temporal rejection without any technological assistance. Where are you? She demanded. 2 buildings east. I can see you. Why should I trust you? Because they're trying to kill me too. His voice hardened. 3 TNA hit squads in the last 2 days. Valdez knows I've seen the files. Eliza made her decision. Meet me at the extraction point. Northeast corner. 10 minutes. She fired her grappling hook to a lower building, swinging away from her original target just as a TNA hover drone swept over her previous position. The extraction point was a maintenance shed on a corporate roof garden. When she arrived, Marcus was already waiting, his TNA tactical uniform replaced with civilian clothes. Eliza kept her pulse pistol trained on him. How do I know this isn't an elaborate play? In response, he turned, lifting his hair to reveal the back of his neck. The same type of neurotoxin implant they'd put in her. Activated yesterday, he said. 72-hour countdown. She lowered her weapon slightly. You know what they want with Jasmine. Your sister's genetics could be the key to stable memory transfer. No fragmentation. No rejection. He met her eyes. Valdez wants to create perfect memory soldiers, with all the training but none of the side effects. We need to get her out. Not through the front door. I have access codes to a service entrance. We can. A whistling sound cut him off as something small and metallic clattered between them. Before either could react, it detonated, not an explosion, but a burst of temporal energy that distorted the air around them. Chrono grenade. Marcus tackled her behind a ventilation unit as reality rippled. Where they had been standing seconds before, time stuttered and fragmented, concrete aging to dust then rewinding to pristine condition in chaotic cycles. TNA commandos in black tactical gear swarmed onto the roof. Not regular agents, these moved with the unnatural precision of memo-sign subjects. Perfect memory soldiers. This way. Marcus grabbed her arm, pulling her toward an access door as pulse fire chewed up the rooftop around them. They crashed through the door and down a service stairwell. Eliza fired blindly behind them, buying seconds. The neurotoxin implant throbbed violently at her sudden exertion. How did they find us? She gasped as they descended. My implant. They're tracking it. He grimaced. And yours. They burst into an empty office floor, cubicles stretching into darkness. We need to keep moving, Marcus urged. There's a medical facility in Chinatown. Underground. They might be able to. The window beside them shattered as a TNA assault drone hovered outside, weapon ports glowing. Eliza reacted first, shoving Marcus down as pulse rounds tore through the office. She returned fire, her shots connecting with the drone stabilizers. It spiraled away, trailing smoke. They're herding us, Marcus realized. Driving us east. Away from the TNA facility, Eliza added. Away from Jasmine. A plan formed in her mind. Let them think it's working. For the next hour, they led their pursuers on a chase through Neo-San Francisco's business district, seemingly fleeing eastward while gradually circling back toward the TNA black site. During a momentary respite in an abandoned subway station, Eliza unpacked her neural extractor. I need 5 minutes, she told Marcus, who stood guard at the entrance. For what? To hack your implant. If I can modify the signal it emits, we can use it to our advantage. He hesitated only briefly before kneeling beside her. Do it. She placed the neural hood over his head and initiated the connection. The device was designed for memory extraction, but she'd modified it for other purposes. As the interface cables connected with his implant, she saw flashes of his memories, their first meeting at the TNA research division. Their first kiss in her laboratory after hours. The betrayal in his eyes when she fled the agency, but also strange combat training in rooms she didn't recognize. Faces of targets he'd eliminated. Memories that didn't match the markers she knew. He gasped as she completed the hack. What did you see? Enough to know you're telling the truth. She packed up her equipment. Your implant now broadcasts a false location. They'll think we're heading for the harbor. And yours? I've temporarily masked its signal. We have maybe 3 hours before the system adapts. She checked her watch. We need to move now if we're going to save Jasmine. They emerged from the subway 2 blocks from the TNA black site. The rain had intensified, sheets of water cascading down the massive buildings. In the distance, they could see TNA forces converging on the harbor district, following Marcus's false signal. Service entrance is here. He led her to an unremarkable maintenance door. Retinal scan. Marcus leaned forward, letting the scanner read his eye. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then a green light flashed, and the door clicked open. They haven't revoked your access yet, Eliza observed. Valdez might not know I've seen her files. Or she wants me to lead her to you. Either way, we're committed now. The service corridors were deserted, skeleton crew only, with most forces deployed to hunt them across the city. They navigated through maintenance tunnels and emergency stairwells, avoiding security cameras. 47th floor, Marcus whispered as they reached a secure door. Jasmine should be in the temporal research wing. Eliza nodded, prepping a security override for the electronic lock. As the door slid open, alarms immediately blared throughout the facility. So much for stealth, she muttered. They sprinted down the corridor, Marcus leading the way through the labyrinthine research facility. They passed laboratories filled with strange equipment, temporal manipulation chambers, neural mapping stations, memory extraction rigs far more advanced than Eliza's own technology. There! Marcus pointed to a heavily secured door at the end of the hall. As they approached, the facility lights flickered, then died, replaced by red emergency lighting. The security door to the containment area slid open on emergency protocols. That's not supposed to happen, Marcus murmured. They entered cautiously, weapons ready. Inside, they found not a prison cell but a state-of-the-art medical suite. And standing beside a complex neural interface chair was Director Sofia Valdez herself. Right on schedule, Valdez said, her voice eerily calm. I was beginning to think my breadcrumbs weren't obvious enough. Behind her, strapped to the neural interface chair, was Jasmine, conscious but unmoving, her eyes wide with fear. Dozens of cables connected to her skull, pulsing with data transfer. Let her go, Eliza demanded, aiming her pulse pistol at Valdez. The director smiled. You still don't understand what's happening, do you? Even after all your discoveries. She gestured around them. This isn't about stopping your memory market. It's about acquiring it. Marcus took a step forward. The TNA has been publicly hunting memory traders while secretly perfecting the technology. Of course. Eliza's breakthrough was impressive, harvesting memories without temporal catastrophe. But her implementation was crude. Valdez walked to a control panel. The fragmentation, the identity crises. We've solved those problems. Using my sister, Eliza spat. Using her unique genetic predisposition to temporal stability, yes. Valdez's fingers danced across the controls. Your market proved the concept. We're perfecting it. A view screen activated, showing security footage from across the city. Temporal disruptions rippled through crowded areas, reality itself seeming to fracture in spreading patterns. What have you done? Eliza whispered. The cumulative effect of thousands of memory trades is creating cascade failures in local timelines, Valdez explained. For years, we've controlled limited time travel, letting people observe but never interact with their past. But observation itself causes changes. The observer effect, Marcus realized. But not the way we thought. Precisely. Every memory extraction, every transfer, creates microscopic tears in temporal stability. Individually, meaningless. Collectively, she gestured to the screens showing growing chaos. You're going to blame the market, Eliza said, understanding dawning. Pin the temporal disruptions on underground traders while the TNA swoops in with its solution, your perfected memory tech. Which requires your sister's genetic material to function safely, Marcus added. Valdez smiled. The public will demand access to clean memory trading once they realize it exists. And we'll provide it, under absolute government control. Jasmine struggled against her restraints, trying to speak through whatever paralytic they'd given her. This ends now, Eliza raised her weapon. I don't think so. Valdez pressed a control on her wrist device. Searing pain exploded at the base of Eliza's skull as her neurotoxin implant activated. She collapsed to her knees, vision blurring. 72 hours, Ms. Kwan. Unless I deactivate it. Valdez turned to Marcus. I knew. Our most successful memo-sign subject. Until your programming began to fail. Marcus stiffened. What programming? You were never assigned to hunt Eliza. You were programmed to seek her out, gain her trust, and lead her here. Embedded memory implants creating a false narrative of rebellion. Valdez's smile widened. You've been working for me the entire time. You just don't remember it. The revelation hit him visibly. His hand trembled on his weapon. That's not possible, he whispered. Ask yourself why you conveniently discovered the memo sign files just when you needed to gain Eliza's trust. Why your implant led you directly to her. Why your access codes still work. Doubt clouded Marcus's face as he struggled with competing memories. Don't listen to her, Eliza gasped through the pain. She's trying to fragment your timeline, just like she did to Ren. A massive explosion rocked the building. Emergency klaxons wailed as the facility security systems reported multiple breaches. Speaking of your fragmented friend, Valdez said, looking at security feeds. It appears Mr. Nakamura has brought reinforcements. The screen showed Ren leading a dozen memory traders in an assault on the building. But something was wrong with him. The temporal fragmentation had progressed, black veins now covering half his face. He moved with inhuman speed, utilizing combat memories from dozens of sources simultaneously. Your lieutenant is experiencing cascade failure, Valdez observed. Fascinating. A second explosion, closer this time. The lights flickered. You've miscalculated, Eliza managed, fighting through the pain. The market wasn't just about profit. It was about proving your entire temporal theory wrong. Explain. Valdez's attention sharpened. The observer effect works both ways. Eliza struggled to her feet. Memories don't just get transferred. They get shared. Connected. Understanding dawned on Valdez's face. No. My traders aren't just individuals anymore. Their shared memories have created a network, a collective consciousness that exists partially outside normal temporal constraints. The building shook again as Ren's forces drew closer. On the security feeds, Eliza could see her fragmented traders moving with impossible coordination, as if sharing a single mind. You didn't just create soldiers, Eliza said. You created a hive. Valdez lunged for the neural interface controls connected to Jasmine. Then we accelerate the timetable. Marcus moved faster, tackling the director away from the console. They crashed into a bank of equipment, struggling for control of Valdez's sidearm. Eliza staggered to her sister, fighting through waves of pain from her implant. She began disconnecting the neural cables. Hold on, Jas. I'm getting you out. Jasmine's eyes focused on her. Behind you, she managed through paralyzed lips. Eliza turned to see Valdez standing over Marcus's unconscious form, weapon raised. Do you know what happens when two temporal agents with competing memory implants fight? Valdez asked, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. Reality gets confused about which history is correct. The air between them shimmered, reality rippling as temporal distortion spread from Marcus's prone form. The building's temporal shielding is failing, Valdez continued. Soon this entire block will experience reality fluctuations. Your market caused this, Eliza. Your democratization of temporal access. You're wrong. Eliza connected her neural extractor to Jasmine's interface. The fluctuations aren't from fragmentation. They're attempts at stabilization. She activated her device, creating a feedback loop with the TNA systems. The room's lights flickered wildly. What are you doing? Valdez demanded. Proving my theory. Eliza's vision blurred as the neurotoxin progressed. The shared memories aren't destroying timelines. They're creating a consensus reality, one where time flows both ways. The temporal disruptions intensified as the facility's systems merged with Eliza's technology. On the screens, they could see Ren and his traders had breached the lower floors, moving up toward them. You'll destroy everything. Valdez aimed her weapon at Eliza's head. A shot rang out, but not from Valdez's gun. The director screamed, dropping her weapon as blood blossomed from her shoulder. Marcus had regained consciousness, his own pistol smoking. You lied to me, he said, struggling to his feet. Planted false memories. Made me doubt what was real. I gave you purpose, Valdez hissed. No. He moved to Eliza's side. She did. The building shuddered again as temporal waves rippled outward. The neural interface connecting Jasmine to the TNA systems glowed with increasing power. We need to disconnect her, Marcus urged. No. Eliza adjusted the settings on her extractor. Jasmine's the key. Her genetic stability can anchor the fluctuations. Valdez laughed bitterly. You'll kill her. The neural load will be too great. Not if she shares it. Eliza placed the neural hood over her own head, creating a three-way connection between herself, Jasmine, and the TNA systems. Eliza, don't, Marcus reached for her. Trust me. As the connection activated, memories flooded Eliza's consciousness. Not just her own or Jasmine's, but hundreds, thousands, of fragments from traders across the city. The collective memory network she derised, manifesting through the TNA's amplification systems, pain seared through her skull as the neurotoxin fought with the neural connection. She had minutes at most before brain damage began. Jasmine, she gasped. Can you feel it? Her sister's eyes widened, the paralytic wearing off as the connection strengthened. Yes, she whispered. Everyone. I feel everyone. The temporal disruptions throughout the building began to synchronize, pulses of energy flowing in coordinated patterns rather than chaotic bursts. It's working, Marcus said in awe. The timelines are stabilizing. Valdez stared at the readings in disbelief. Impossible. The observer effect was never about destruction, Eliza finished, her voice strained. It's about consensus. When enough observers share memories of the same timeline, reality conforms. The door burst open as Ren led a group of memory traders into the lab. His fragmented face locked onto Eliza, recognition fighting through the chaos of his competing memories. Help, Bus? He managed. Eliza nodded to Marcus. Connect them. All of them. Understanding her plan, Marcus began linking the traders to auxiliary neural ports, expanding the network. Each connection strengthened the stabilization effect, visible now as waves of golden light pulsing through the facility. You're going to merge them all? Valdez asked, horrified. Create some kind of collective consciousness? Not merge. Connect. Eliza's vision darkened at the edges as the neurotoxin progressed. Individual minds, shared experiences. The democratic temporal access I always wanted. On the screens, they could see the temporal disruptions across the city beginning to stabilize, the golden pulses spreading outward from the TNA facility, but the neurotoxin was winning its battle in Eliza's system. Her breathing grew labored, each heartbeat sending fresh agony through her skull. Marcus saw her fading. The toxin, we need to neutralize it. Too late, she whispered. But the network will survive. Not without you. He made a decision, connecting himself to the network. Your theory works both ways. If shared memories create consensus reality, understanding dawned through her pain. Then consensus reality can alter memories, including the memory of the toxin in your system. He joined his consciousness to the network, focusing every ounce of his will on a single shared memory, Eliza, healthy, toxin neutralized. As more traders connected, the memory gained strength, propagating through the consensus network. Eliza gasped as the pain suddenly receded. The implant at the base of her skull grew cold, then inert, reality itself rewriting its function as thousands of connected minds agreed on a new truth. Jasmine squeezed her hand. It's working. I can feel it. Across the city, temporal disruptions faded as the network expanded, traders and citizens alike unknowingly joining a momentary consensus that stabilized fractured timelines. Valdez watched in stunned silence as her weapon clattered to the floor. What have you done? Created the true democratization of time. Eliza stood, strength returning as the network reinforced her recovery. Not by letting people visit their past, but by letting them share it. The director shook her head. The TNA will never allow this. The risk isn't yours to evaluate anymore. Marcus disconnected himself from the interface. The consensus network is self-sustaining now. The memories have been shared. And cannot be unshared, Ren added, his fragmentation visibly receding as the network stabilized his competing timelines. Outside, dawn broke over Neo-San Francisco, golden light spilling through the laboratory windows. On the screens, they could see citizens across the city momentarily pausing, experiencing the faintest echo of shared memory before continuing their day, unaware that for one brief moment, they had been part of something greater. Eliza helped Jasmine from the chair, the neural cables falling away as the connection maintained itself wirelessly now. Can you walk? Jasmine nodded, her movements growing steadier as the paralytic wore off completely. What happens now? To all of us? I don't know, Eliza admitted, glancing at the traders whose fragmented identities were visibly stabilizing. But we'll face it together. Marcus secured Valdez, whose shoulders had slumped in defeat. The TNA reinforcements will be here soon. We need to move. Not yet, Eliza said, moving to the main console. First we need insurance. Her fingers flew across the controls, downloading evidence of the TNA's unauthorized experiments, Project Mnemosyne, the weaponization of memory trading, the planned destabilization of city timelines to create market demand for government solutions. They'll bury this, Valdez spat. You think the public will believe rogue memory traders over the TNA? They will when they experience it themselves. Eliza activated the facility's broadcast system, channeling the consensus network's shared memory directly into the city's neural communication grid. For a brief moment, every citizen with a neural implant, which in 2053 meant nearly the entire population, would receive a flash of shared consciousness. Not enough to overwhelm, just enough to plant a seed of awareness about what the TNA had been doing. You'll create mass panic, Valdez warned. Temporal cognition wasn't meant for untrained minds. You mean it wasn't meant for ordinary people, Eliza corrected. Just your elite agents and wealthy clients. The broadcast completed just as distant explosions signaled the arrival of TNA reinforcements. The building trembled, dust raining from the ceiling. Now we go, Eliza said. Ren nodded to his traders. We'll buy you time. No, Eliza grabbed his arm. No more sacrifices. We all leave together. Marcus pointed to an emergency shaft at the back of the lab. Maintenance tube. Bypasses all standard floors. Straight to the sublevels. They moved quickly, Eliza helping Jasmine while Marcus forced Valdez along at gunpoint. The director no longer resisted, her eyes fixed on the monitors showing golden waves of temporal stabilization spreading throughout the city. "You've doomed us all," she murmured. "Some memories weren't meant to be shared." "That's where you're wrong," Jasmine said, her voice stronger now. "Memories isolated become distorted, weaponized. Memories shared become truth." As they reached the maintenance tube, a blinding flash of blue light erupted from the corridor behind them. TNA tactical forces had breached the lab. "Go!" Marcus shouted, pushing Eliza and Jasmine toward the shaft entrance while firing a covering burst from his pulse pistol. The first TNA agent around the corner crumpled, but more followed. Unlike standard agents, these moved with the eerie precision of memo-signed subjects, perfectly coordinated, sharing combat memories across a tactical network. Ren and his traders formed a defensive line, their own fragmented combat memories making them unpredictable opponents. As Eliza helped Jasmine into the shaft, she saw Ren move with impossible speed, utilizing techniques from a dozen different fighting styles simultaneously. "Marcus, now," she called. He backed toward the shaft, still firing. A pulse round grazed his shoulder, spinning him against the wall. Eliza lunged forward, grabbing his arm and pulling him into the shaft just as Ren sealed the entrance behind them. "Ren," she screamed. "Don't!" Through the closing door, he gave her one final smile, a moment of perfect clarity breaking through his fragmented identity. "Fix this, boss. Make it right." The shaft door sealed with a pneumatic hiss, cutting off the sounds of combat from the lab. Eliza stared at the closed entrance, paralyzed by the weight of another sacrifice. "He's buying us time," Marcus said gently, despite the pain of his wound. "Don't waste it." They descended through the dark tube, guided only by emergency lighting. Jasmine moved with growing confidence as the paralytic wore off completely, while Marcus grimaced with each step, his injured shoulder leaving a trail of blood droplets on the rungs. "Why did you help us?" Eliza asked him as they reached a midpoint landing. "After everything Valdez said about your programming," Marcus met her eyes in the dim light. "Because when I accessed your memories during the implant hack, I felt recognition. Not just of you, but of myself. Of who I was before they tampered with my timeline." "And who was that?" A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Someone who believed in you." The moment was broken by Valdez's bitter laugh. "How touching." The programmed agent developing sentimentality for his target. "Shut up," Jasmine snapped with unexpected vehemence. "You think you understand what's happening, but you don't. The network isn't just connecting memories, it's healing the fractures you created." Valdez's sardonic expression faltered slightly. "What do you mean?" "I can feel it," Jasmine tapped her temple. "Every memory trader you've hunted, every timeline you've fractured with your experiments, they're finding each other through the network. Reconnecting." They continued their descent, reaching the lowest level of the building, a vast underground complex housing the TNA's temporal research facilities. Unlike the sterile laboratories above, this level was dominated by massive machinery, the engines that powered the agency's limited time travel technology. "We need transport," Marcus said, checking the exit corridor. "The vehicle bay should be east of here." "No," Eliza stopped, staring at the central temporal core, a pulsing sphere of energy contained within interlocking rings of exotic material. "We're not running anymore." "Eliza, we don't have time for, time is exactly what we need." She moved purposefully toward the central console. "If my theory is correct, the consensus network isn't just connecting memories, it's creating a new kind of temporal field. One that exists between moments rather than within them." Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. "You want to amplify it?" "Using the TNA's own hardware." She began accessing the system, fingers flying across the controls. "If we can broadcast the network through their temporal core, you'll destabilize the entire temporal infrastructure," Valdez warned, genuine alarm in her voice. "The core wasn't designed for that kind of load." "It wasn't designed for democratized time, you mean?" Eliza continued her work. "But that's exactly what we're going to give it." Jasmine joined her sister at the console. "I can help." The neural interface gave me access to some of the system protocols. As they worked, Marcus secured the entrance, preparing for the inevitable arrival of TNA forces. The temporal core began to pulse with increasing frequency, its normal blue glow taking on hints of the golden light that characterized the consensus network. "What exactly will this do?" he asked, wincing as he checked his wounded shoulder. "If I'm right," Eliza said without looking up, "it will broadcast the consensus network not just across space, but across time. Not full time travel, but a connection between past and present observers." "And if you're wrong?" Eliza's hands paused momentarily. "Then we create the temporal catastrophe Valdez has been warning about." The director laughed without humor. "And they call me the villain." "The difference is choice," Jasmine countered. "You forced your version of time on others. We're offering ours as a possibility." Distant alarms signaled the approach of TNA forces. Marcus took position by the entrance, weapon ready. "Whatever you're doing, do it fast." The temporal core's rotation accelerated, the golden light now dominating its energy signature. The massive machinery around them hummed with power as Eliza completed the final sequence. "Ready?" she asked Jasmine. Her sister nodded. Together, they pressed the activation sequence simultaneously. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the temporal core flared with blinding intensity, golden energy surging through the facility's systems. The world around them seemed to slow, then stop, then fragment into overlapping images, past, present, potential futures, all visible simultaneously. "What's happening?" Marcus called, his voice distorted as if traveling through water. "Temporal cascade," Eliza answered, her own voice echoing strangely. "The consensus network is propagating through the TNA's infrastructure." Through the temporal distortion, they could see Neo San Francisco in layers, its past, present, and potential futures overlapping like transparent sheets. The golden light of the consensus network spread through these layers, connecting moments across time rather than just people across space. Jasmine gripped her sister's arm. "Eliza, look." On the security monitors, they could see city streets where citizens were experiencing the expanded network. But instead of panic, people were reaching out to each other, strangers connecting as they shared in the momentary collective experience. More surprisingly, they could see echoes of themselves, past versions, future possibilities, all momentarily visible through the temporal cascade. "It's beautiful," Jasmine whispered. Even Valdez had fallen silent, watching in stunned disbelief as reality itself expanded around them. The doors to the facility burst open as TNA tactical teams swarmed in, weapons raised. But they too froze, caught in the expanding temporal field. The agents, many of them memo-sign subjects, stared in wonder as their own fractured timelines became visible to them, the origins of their implanted memories revealed. "It's working," Eliza breathed. "They can see what was done to them." The temporal cascade reached its peak, a shimmering golden wave that spread outward from the facility. As it passed through each person, it revealed their timeline, not just memories, but the connections between them, the way each moment shaped the next. For the memory traders, whose identities had been fragmented by trading, the network offered clarity, not erasing the memories they'd acquired, but integrating them into coherent timelines. For the memo-sign agents, it revealed the manipulation of their pasts, allowing them to distinguish genuine memories from implanted ones. And for ordinary citizens, it provided a glimpse of something profound, the interconnectedness of all their moments, all their choices, all their shared experiences. The cascade gradually stabilized, the overlapping timelines resolving back into a single present. But something fundamental had changed. The golden light of the consensus network remained visible to those who had experienced it, a subtle glow connecting person to person. The TNA agents lowered their weapons, many removing their tactical helmets as they processed what they'd witnessed. Among them, Ren emerged, battered but alive, the black veins of his fragmentation fading from his face. "You did it," he said to Eliza, something like wonder in his voice. "You fixed us." "Not me," she corrected, looking at her sister. "Us. All of us, together." Director Valdez slumped against a console, defeat etched in every line of her face. "What happens now?" "You've exposed everything. Now we rebuild," Marcus answered, lowering his weapon as the agents made no move to attack. "But differently. No more monopoly on time. No more weaponized memories. Eliza moved to the central console, downloading the evidence of what had occurred, the full history of the TNA's experiments, the truth about Project Mnemosyne, and the reality of what the consensus network had accomplished. The public deserves to know what happened here, she said. All of it. They'll never understand, Valdez protested. Temporal mechanics are beyond, they just experienced it firsthand, Jasmine interrupted. They may not have the scientific vocabulary, but they felt the truth. That matters more. Outside the facility, dawn was breaking over Neo-San Francisco, a city fundamentally changed not in its physical structure, but in the invisible connections now linking its citizens across time as well as space. Eliza helped Marcus bandage his wounded shoulder as Ren coordinated with the memory traders, many of whom were embracing TNA agents they recognized from shared memory fragments. So what now? Marcus asked quietly. The TNA won't just disappear. No, Eliza agreed. But it will transform. It has to. She looked at the former Mnemosyne agents, now facing the truth of what had been done to them. They deserve the chance to reclaim their own timelines, just like we do. The neurotoxin implant at the base of her skull had gone completely inert, its function rewritten by the consensus network. She reached up, feeling the small bump beneath her skin, a reminder of what had been at stake. We'll need to establish protocols, she continued. Guidelines for memory sharing that prevent fragmentation. Research into temporal stability. Sounds like a job for a temporal engineer, Marcus noted with a small smile. Former temporal engineer, she corrected. Now I'm just trying to make things right. Jasmine joined them, her eyes still glowing faintly with the golden light of the network. It's spreading, you know. Beyond the city. The network is finding connections everywhere. Is that dangerous? Marcus asked. I don't think so, Jasmine replied. It's not forcing anything. Just offering possibilities. Connections where none existed before. As they prepared to leave the facility, Eliza paused at the temporal core, now pulsing with a steady rhythm as it maintained the expanded network. We never needed to visit our past, she realized. We just needed to understand how it connects to our present, and everyone else's. The sun rose fully over Neo-San Francisco, its light catching the faint golden glow that now connected the city's inhabitants. Not mind control, not forced consensus, but something more profound, shared understanding across moments that had previously existed in isolation. Memory hunters no more. Now they were memory weavers, connecting the fragments of time into something greater than its parts. As Eliza stepped into the morning light, she felt the weight of her own fragmented past beginning to ease. The memories remained, the pain, the loss, the difficult choices, but now they existed within a context of connection rather than isolation. She looked at Marcus, at Jasmine, at Ren and the others, each carrying their own timeline, yet now understanding how they all intersected. Ready, she asked. They nodded, stepping forward together into a future where time was no longer something to be hunted, but something to be shared.